Hey kids, we're back. We're live. You are watching Guitar Quackery live. I think you're watching. I guess you are. Guitar Quackery Live is the one and only live streaming guitar repair channel where customers get to watch me work on their guitars in real time. Speaking of customers, I'm about to send the link to this video, to this live stream, to the owner of this guitar, my customer. Bear with me. So this is pretty cool. Two S's, yeah, okay. And here we go. I just paste the link. Look at that. And tap and it goes out to the customer. It is a service that I don't believe anyone else offers. One of its kind so far. I do encourage other people to start doing this because the technology is available, obviously. Yeah, I've been streaming these projects. I started streaming. Oh, look at that. I already have an audience. Welcome back, aficionado. Yeah, well, why don't I type a short message? Okay. Aficionado, our company. Okay, but I better get to work because there's a guitar on the bench. Now it's an old Martin. They just don't make them like this anymore. And how about this? Let's have a look at the headstock first. Martin and Company, established in 1833. So we are going to replace this nut. And we are also going to do some preliminary fret end dressing in this live stream. And we are going to start prepping for some work that we need to do on the saddle. Now, in this live stream, I just want to document everything. It's important for these live streams to document everything. So we are first going to do a full assessment of this guitar. Let's start with the frets. That's a good place to start. So what we do is first we take the fret rocker and here we go. We go over all the frets. And we try to find uneven frets. So far, no uneven frets. The service that we are going to do on this guitar is going to be an overhaul, full restoration service. Whatever needs to be done to bring it back to its glory. A little bit of a high fret here, nothing to cry about. Here as well on this side. I'm expecting to maybe, here, 13th fret. I was going to say I'm expecting to maybe find a high fret right here, right? So this is where the fall away starts. It's usually a false reading if you read a high fret either here or here, because sometimes you have a fall away and simply the fingerboard extension goes down in this direction. So yeah, I'm not worried about the fingerboard extension. We are going to do a very light kind of leveling of the frets, just as part of, a service, a full service. So that's that. Now this is an old Martin, which means I don't know if you see this, but it doesn't have a truss rod. It doesn't have an adjustable truss rod on the inside. There's nothing there. And there's nothing here either, obviously. You can see from here, there's no truss rod. So there is no adjustable truss rod on this guitar. These are the tuning machine, the old vintage or old tuning machines. I gotta say, I really like this neck. I like the wood grain. Maybe this camera doesn't really show it, but you can see the few growth rings kind of meeting in the middle here. So it looks to be, you know, nice cut of wood. Here, we want to always look at the neck joint, especially on a Martin. They have these dovetail neck joints that can come apart. You can see there is a little bit of a separation right there. But we are not doing a neck reset on this one. I don't believe we are. It is holding up. So this part of the neck joint isn't actually glued onto the shoulders of the guitar. So you can think of this guitar as, you know, neck and body. So where the neck meets the body, you have the shoulders, the waist, okay, upper bout, lower bout. It's banged up a little bit. So I can feel a fracture right here. Not sure if the camera is going to pick it up, maybe with this reflection. There's a fracture. We'll see what we can do about that. And there's a fracture here, a ding. Okay. So this one, we are going to work on it in order of priorities, because this one is being you know, worked on by the hour. So there are, you know, the number one, number two priority, etc., right? So one thing for sure, we cannot leave sharp frets protruding, so we are gonna take care of that. They're just a little bit sharp. I mean, not even sharp, but you can feel the edges. Although we cannot adjust the truss rod, we do want to see what kind of relief we have, because sometimes you need to do other things in order to put the neck back into its proper relief. On a Martin, if it has too much of a nut bow on an old Martin without a adjustable truss rod, you can do what's called a compression refret. We can talk about that sometime. I don't recall that this is what I discussed with this customer, but let's have a look. Right? A compression refret is well, it's a refret, but you put new frets inside the fret slots of different widths, and they throw the neck a little bit into a back bow. Not into a back bow, they correct the up bow, right? They bend it back. So I don't believe that that's what we're doing. Let's see. We are going to measure. Okay, so here we don't have enough relief. So that's 3 1/1000ths of an inch. 4 1/1000ths doesn't go through. So 3 1/1000ths, barely. And on the other side, let's see. 3 1/1000ths goes through. 4 1/1000ths also doesn't, right? So the last one that really goes through is 3 1/1000ths of an inch. I just want to document it, so I'm going to switch cameras here. And let's focus on this. You can see this is 3 1/1000ths of an inch. So technically speaking, this guitar does not have enough of a relief to be perfectly on spec. Now, I know that some people like a completely flat neck, and that's an interesting conversation, maybe for some other time. But without the relief, we really want to make sure that we don't have uneven frets, and we already kind of took care of that. I mean, we didn't find any uneven frets. And when I do a full fret dress, I do take some of the high spots off. Well, actually, I did find a few uneven frets, but they were very minor discrepancies. It's going to need a new saddle for sure. You can clearly see this is not the original saddle. Somebody did replace it. Another obvious thing is that this saddle slot is too shallow. So we can see that these lines aren't very sharp. So it is possible that this had a bridge shave at some point. You know, we typically do that when we need to lower the saddle lower than the bridge height will allow. And then sometimes it's difficult to get a sharp transition here, sharp line. So that would explain possibly that a bridge shave had been done in the past. And that's also supported by the fact that this slot isn't really deep enough. So what we will do at some point during the, overhaul is I am going to route the slot deeper and also make a new saddle. We want to check if there is a bridge lift. So just a little bit biting here in the back. Not enough to really worry about. I think we're just going to leave it alone. Let's have a look from the back. Here it is, right? So maybe a little bit here, but overall, it's not lifting. So I'm not going to touch it. Now, if hide glue was used, we can actually re-glue it without removing the bridge. Now, how would we test if it's hide glue? We can simply moisten the feeler gauge, and if it picks up some glue, it becomes sticky, then we know it's hide glue. So hide glue can be reactivated, and you can just add some glue to it without even removing the bridge. Now here we just want to make a note of this. This is the damage to the soundboard. We have some scratches, scuffs. That's normal for the age of this guitar, obviously. And like I said, I can feel a fracture here. So now let's have a look. Here it is, right? There's a fracture going through. Actually, two of them, they meet right here. They are almost parallel to each other, but crossing the wood fibers. So they're slightly at an angle. Something happened. I can see a whole bunch of scratches here. So it's in this area here. You can see it from here. The reflection shows those scratches. And here we have more of a close-up view of them. Yeah. So this is the overall condition of the guitar. The first thing I will do is file the fret ends a little bit. And, we forgot to look at the nut. Yeah, very important because we are going to change this nut. All right. So let's have a look. Here it is. Looks like ebony, right? Now, Martin sometimes cuts the nut like this. So you can see this is at an angle, so we don't see any 90-degree angles anywhere, actually. This is, you know, difficult to cut a nut like this. Like I said, it's ebony. Here we have it, and on the other side. Now, is it the original nut? It looks like it is, because here we have this fracture through the finish. That's both, you know, the two sides kind of match. So I think this is in fact the original nut. So we'll do something about this. I'm not really sure what yet. Whatever is the appropriate service. Yeah, with things like this, it's good to think before we jump. But for sure, we do want to make sure that we don't have sharp frets. Why would we want that? Oh, I see quite a few comments. Sorry, I cannot read them right now. Okay, this file and the brush. Here we go. Let's put this in autofocus this time. So the whole service will be documented. This is part 1 you're watching. We're putting this on the playlist. Now we are in fact actively working on this guitar. I had quite a few other projects to work on. I had to catch up to this one. But here it is now. I can do it in small sections. I put my thumb here so that I don't... Well, this is actually a safe edge file anyway. But just want to do it in small sections. It's not going to damage the finish, because as soon as the file hits the finish, it starts to skid. And always clean up. There's really no other way to do it. Some people tape it off, but then you have the thickness of the tape to worry about. Okay, so I think you could see that it was hitting some of the high frets, fret ends. Obviously, you can do this with the strings on. The strings aren't going to damage the frets. That's what the frets are for. This is just a preliminary fret end dress. And I do want to do this before I remove the strings. I do have to say that the owner of this guitar is, in fact, humidifying the guitar. He isn't neglecting it. He even has a really cool, I think it might be Bluetooth hygrometer. Maybe it's Wi-Fi, I don't know. But I'm going to check that out. So you can put it in your case, and I believe it must be connected to an app, and you can check from anywhere in the world, I guess, if your guitar is drying up or being overhumidified. We need to make sure that we don't scratch the surface here. So I haven't done any work here over the fingerboard extension yet. So I want to put maybe a piece of, I could put like a post-it notes, or let me see, an old string pack. Where is it? Okay, I have, this is from a pack of strings. I'll just put it here, put some tape to protect the finish. And now I can, oops. Go like this. Okay, so this feels much better already. Switching the camera here. It needs a little bit more. Maybe even here a little bit, this one fret. Yeah, I can feel that it's still biting. So these files, they will not damage the finish if you use them carefully. Okay. So this side is easy. I can do it seated like this with the guitar in playing position. And the other side, I need to do it on the bench. Sometimes the wood is a little bit bent and you can't really hit all the protruding fret ends. So sometimes you actually need to use the back of the file, just lift it a little bit. Okay. So, for sure, we need to fix the bridge, the saddle slot on this guitar. So now, in the order of priorities, I guess, the saddle slot, make a new saddle, fix the nut. Although I am doing the fret ends, you could argue that I'm not doing the work in the order of priorities, but I just want to do this with the old strings on. So this is why I'm doing it now. It's not a major job. It's not going to have a significant impact on the budget, right? So, and honestly, I can't give a guitar back with, you know, frets that are sticking out. Basically, the guitar dried up a little bit, the wood shrunk a little bit, and that left the frets a little bit too long on the side. So this is now really good. It's obviously not something that I can really show you on camera. Okay, that's good. And now I put the guitar on the bench like this, and I need to stand up, and I will show you the overhead view. So I will do it in small sections on this side. So you can see how, like if I place my hand here, the file is really grabbing onto the little protrusions. So I need to hold it, and don't push hard when you start, just maybe even backwards and then in this direction. Because on this file, the teeth are pointing in this direction, they're slanted in this direction and cutting in this direction. But you can actually scrape off a little metal at first by going backwards, which makes it easier to start in this direction, in the proper direction. Okay, and the same thing, keep cleaning the file. I might as well place this on the other side, because we are going to need it there. Now, it's important to use the right tape on this type of finish. So this is the Delicate Surface painter's tape. It's not the type of tape that I would leave on this type of finish for an extended period, but for a few minutes on this finish, it's okay. Maybe I put this here, like that. And you can see that I'm kind of rolling the edges. And just keep cleaning the file and the workpiece. If you don't keep the file clean, it clogs up, and then it doesn't cut well, which kind of intuitively makes you push harder. But when you push harder, you lose control. Also, you don't want the metal particles to kind of rub the finish, so we want to clean them off. Now, the important thing is that even if you kind of scratch the surface of the finish, that you can buff it out later. So we don't want to cut through the finish and expose the wood, but a few faint surface scuffs are going to happen, but we can buff them out later. As you can tell, this job requires a little bit of patience, which is why I don't have toddlers running around here helping me. So there was no real good way to show you the protrusion thread ends, I guess, on camera. But what I can show you is the shavings. The metal shavings, which we can now see here. Let's throw some light. Okay, you can see here. In fact, you can even see the fret end and how there's freshly exposed metal right there. So that's the freshly exposed metal. These are the metal shavings. Okay, let's just look at another fret and here as well. I guess I can now show you some of the frets here. We have this situation. So that's freshly exposed metal right there. Right there, okay? Now you can see that the frets do have little dimples, and you know, they're not really well polished. So that's something that we will take care of. So I just have a little more work to do here to make sure that it feels smooth. Well, maybe I could have shown you the, you know, the fret sprout. We call it the fret sprout, as if they're sprouting. They're not really sprouting. The wood around them shrinks, and they stay, then they stick out. But they just stay in place. So, one final inspection, just by feel. Well, it was really noticeable that that they were sticking out. You Yeah. So now, what comes next? Let me think. We are 35 minutes into this live stream. It's been short. I think I want to look closer at this nut and decide what is the best approach. I think I was thinking of replacing it, but maybe I can just reshape it. So we want to make sure that the string slots aren't too low. They seem to be very low, some of them. Well, no, they're all very low, but we want to make sure that we do maintain a little space between the fret and the bottom of the string. We can use various tools and measuring tools to determine that. I have two sets of feeler gauges. These are the feeler gauges that I use to measure the neck relief, okay? But here, I have a set that has some really fine feeler gauges. This one is an onion skin thickness. And that's the one I'm going to use now, you see? This is very, very thin. So, I only want to use this one for this. Here. When we push the string against the second fret here, touching the second fret, while it's also touching the third fret, but that's irrelevant. We want to see if there's a little space left over between the fret and the bottom of the string. Now here, we can see that there is. You can see that the string is moving. Now on this one, it's harder to tell. So I just want to loosen this so that this is loose so it can move. Place it here and check. And you can see that there is some space left. And that's enough. In fact, that's kind of really good. Now, we know there's space here because we can see it, but all right, just check. On the G string, barely any space left. But you can see that there is some space left. On the D, I'm not too sure. This is why it's important to loosen this, because you don't want to be forcing the metal feeler gauge through, right? I think there is some space left. And here, I don't know. So it's possible that there's some space because this is a 2/100ths of a millimeter. So if the space is smaller than this, then this feeler gauge will still get caught in that tight space, right? So another way to check is to be silent and tap and put your ear right there and listen. Okay, now on the A, I can't hear that the string is hitting the fret. So let's talk about this. The space could be 0. It just can't be negative. In other words, this can't be lower than the level of the frets, right? Can't be, shouldn't be lower. You could get away with it if it was slightly lower. So I think the string heights are actually, I think they're good. So the next test is obviously just playing the strings. Okay, so now I'm leaning in the direction of not changing the nut, but reshaping it. So let's think about that. Let's entertain that idea. I think that's the right thing to do if we can pull it off. And I think we can. The issue is, actually, why don't I use the other microscope, because we'll be able to look at it from an angle. This microscope is really cool, by the way. I can make it turn around the nut. It has a different optical system. But in this configuration, I can only use the camera, okay? And here it is. Let's turn off this light. Let's put these feeler gauges off. So, still part of this assessment, we are now going to be looking at the nut from all sides. Ready? And yeah, here it is. So we're looking at the E string, high E. As you can see, there's some minor damage here, and that's just cosmetic. This is ebony, so we can repair this with ebony dust. This here is this string slot. Looks like there's a lubricant inside. Now we see the G string. Okay. The D string. The A string. So I think we should repair it. That's what I'm going to attempt to do. So basically, somebody filed this nut at some point, and I guess what happened was probably at some point, you know, someone leveled the frets. So when you level the frets, you make them lower, and then that leaves the nut too high, and then they must have filed the string slots, and then they realized that the string slots were too deep, and then what they did was a kind of sloppy job at, you know, reshaping the nut. So this is, I think, the best option. Let's see. We are 44 minutes into this live stream. And I think I can probably just start doing this. Why not? I mean, we're here, and I have an audience. 9 people are watching. So far, friends, if you feel you're learning anything, or if you like it, just make sure you don't accidentally click the like button. Make sure you don't accidentally subscribe, because then YouTube would notify you. Yeah, if you subscribe accidentally and you click the bell icon accidentally, then you'll get a notification that I'm streaming next time, right? So let's loosen the strings. Oh, and by the way, we can simply use this neck rest. This is the Music Nomad Cube neck rest. It allows me to put the strings here, okay? This is it by design. This side maybe? Hold on. Yeah, that's it. I can see there's some damage to the tuning pegs. They're not the original ones. They've been replaced. So we can leave them as is, or we can replace them. We'll see. I will obviously keep communicating with the customer. With vintage guitars, you want to preserve the original parts, but these tuning knobs aren't original, I can tell. And also this is why I prefer to repair this nut as opposed to replace the entire nut, right? Also, when you remove the nut, we don't know how it's been glued, so we open a can of worms, possibly. So now with the strings off, why don't we do another inspection? Now we really want to inspect the bottoms of the string slots. Okay. Because that's also something we'll be working on. Just a quick inspection. I mean, it looks kind of, you know, ugly, I guess, but functional. And what is this? I don't know what those flakes are. We see them here as well. Maybe some dried up lubricant. I'm not really sure. So yeah, I'm going to just tape off the front and the back of the nut. Now I'm using this low tack tape. It's I think it's called, what is it called? I don't know. Sign maker's tape, I think it's called. So I think they use the same adhesive that they use on Post-it notes on this tape. So this tape is definitely not going to damage the finish, even if you leave it overnight. And here, we also want to tape this off. Like this. Okay. So now, let's put the strings back like this. And And let's think. I want to make, I already have a sanding block. This is it, okay? So maybe I use this light. Well, it's ebony, so it's dark, and I want to have a light source that's going to illuminate. Phosphor bronze string residue. Yeah, maybe. But sorry, friends, I can't really get involved with the chat right now. You know, this is a real job. Let's zoom in and focus. Okay. Okay. So maybe this won't be as much work as I thought, which is great, right? I want to kind of round off the back, I mean this corner. And we keep cleaning this because we don't want this to get clogged up, because then obviously the sandpaper doesn't function properly. So this sanding block is straight, but this isn't. So I need to do a little bit of this, right? All right. Look, it's already much better. At this point, I'm not even going to touch the string slots. I am just reshaping the nut. The nut is kind of like on a guitar. So if you go to luthier school, which I'm just self-taught, you know, but I heard that's kind of like the last thing they're going to teach you, and they will pay close attention to how you fabricate a nut. Now, I gotta tell you, this is already much better. I'm happy with the results so far. I'm nervous about this spot here. I think, well, I want to proceed with caution, obviously. So let me have a closer look. So the advantage of this microscope is I can actually see in 3D because it's got two optical systems, but only one of the two optical systems is used for the streaming, right, for the camera. So I see it in 3D, you see it in 2D. So keep that in mind. But it's really helpful in this case to see things in 3D, which is how I see it right now. Yeah. Focus. So we have this small, minor cosmetic damage, which we can address at a later time. Here, the string slot is really low, and I haven't, you know, this is still shiny. I haven't really done anything here. So if I do this very carefully, I just want to remove this kind of breaking point here that goes like that. Let's have a look. I tell you, you know, I'm happy with this. With the vintage guitars, less is more. We just really don't want it to be sloppy the way it was before. I'm gonna smooth it out with some, starting with some 400 grit sandpaper. I have my little container here with some grits already pre-cut. Okay, this is a fresh 400 grit piece, and this time I'm going to use my finger. So why am I going in this direction? Well, that's the direction of the wood grain. So the fingerboard is going in this direction, the nut is going in that direction. But yeah. Take down the edge here. And because my finger isn't a rigid piece of wood, right, straight, we end up with a more curved surface and a transition here. Okay, that's good. Now it's time to move up to 600 grit. This is 800. 600 is this. Same thing. Now we're just doing scratch removal, really. So it's like a nut on a violin or viola. That's ebony. And I'm not even pushing down now too much, just surfing over. Okay. And now we do 800 grit. Okay, you can see how this is smoothing out everything. Now we could do 1000, 1500. This is 1000 grit. Yeah. Okay. I might do 1500 at some later time. Here we see the situation through the microscope. Looks good. Yeah. I am going to stop at 1000 grit. You know, I'll revisit later. I will make a decision at some later time. It needs to look like an old guitar, right? So I'm happy with the results. And when we do the fret dressing, which we're not going to do now, but I am actually going to use a short leveling beam, the one that I normally use for fret dressing. So technically, whenever you polish something, buffing and polishing always removes a little bit of material, right? And I have this, so this is really, really smooth. Those are two different grits, but I am, in fact, going to make sure that we don't have any little bumps that result in uneven frets. Now, we did find a few little bumps here and there, and this is going to take care of that. But here, it's also going to slightly lower the frets, and we're really talking in microns here. And then we are going to polish and buff the frets, and I think the nut will be just fine. If I need to do any touch-up at all, it'll be very minor, you know, in terms of filing the actual string slots. Okay, so now, what should we do next? I'm going to have to build a small jig for routing, a routing jig. Now that's challenging, and I'll show you why. Well, because of the soundboard deflection. Okay, so a so-called flat top guitar isn't really flat. It's like this, right? Now, they all need to have a little bit of a dome, and that is a good thing to prevent cracking when the wood shrinks, not if, but when it shrinks due to dryness. It just goes down a little bit. But if you make a completely flat guitar, like some guitars are made, and older Martin guitars were made like that, then when the wood grain shrinks, it has nowhere to go, and then it just splits at the back here. So in order to position the router and to guide the router in this area, I need to make a routing jig. So basically, a piece of MDF probably with a cutout for the bridge so that it sits on the soundboard. But since the soundboard is like this, I need to do something about it. And what I am going to do, so there are a few options here. We can use Bondo. Just 4 spots will do, just to kind of find the right level for this. And then it'll sit firmly in place. Now we want to be able to remove the routing jig and put it back in the exact same spot. So maybe what I need to do is to make sure that the Bondo goes around the edges. Okay, and that'll be indexing the routing jig. So all I really need to do now is maybe take some measurements, write them down, and make some kind of jig, bring it back, and then align it and do that Bondo trick. I think I might change my mind. It's not uncommon for technicians to wake up in the morning with a better idea. Okay, so I live in the United States, so the measurements are in inches here. Basically, maybe, okay, so this is, I'm going to make it 16 inches. Okay, just a plate, 16-inch long. And how wide? About 9 or 10 inches. Okay. And then I also need to map this out where the cutout is. So why don't I do that like right now with a piece of paper? Recycled paper. That's what the recycled paper is for. Yeah. One thing we did not examine is the bridge plate. And honestly, we should, right? Now, I have a video on the main channel, which is Guitar Quackery, about a damaged bridge plate. And how can you tell if the bridge plate is damaged without looking inside? I'll show you. So right now the strings are completely loose. I should be able to pull the pins out easily. It comes out easily, okay? So that tells me a lot. That tells me that, oh, those are slotted like this. Okay. And I forgot to do something. I forgot to put a capo right here. To hold the strings. Okay, so these strings are really loose, right? Because we were doing the other work. But I just need them to stay like this, okay? So these are slotted pinholes, and these are slotted pins. Well, they shouldn't be slotted. The pins should not be slotted. So either the pinholes should be slotted or the pins. Now you can still use slotted pins. They need to be turned in this direction. Then Okay, let me show you. Because there's a slot in the pin hole, you can see that the non-slotted side of the pin fits, obviously. Okay? And this is something that I'm going to recommend to change the pins. These are some cheap plastic pins. They don't belong on this guitar, right? If we're going to do all this work. But the strings come out easily, the pins come out easily. I'm not suspecting that there's any damage to the bridge plate. But we don't really know. Let's see. Okay. So you can see how shallow this saddle slot is, right? Very, very shallow. It's not good. It needs to be deeper, obviously. Now, the height of the saddle is a different story, right? Since we are doing this full assessment, if we just remove the strings, we do want to look at the inside of the guitar. So one quick test that isn't reliable is a tap test. Just kind of listen. And if there's a loose brace, sometimes you can hear it. And sometimes there might be a loose brace and you can't hear it. So let's take the endoscope and let's have a look inside. We are about to perform a guitar endoscopy. And that's pretty cool. So I'll place a light. How about here? And now we can put this inside and hook it up to my phone. Okay? So you'll see what happens when I do that. Oh, I need to put a link in the description. So I had to buy quite a few of these to settle on this one. I'm not 100% happy with this one, but the other ones were, well, they had issues, I forgot. But I was having issues with them. This one is a dual camera. It has a camera here and here, and I'll show you. So when I plug it in, like this, it opens the app, and I need to allow it. And now I flip the image, and I can see what the front camera sees. Okay. Now if I push this button, now this camera lights up. There's a light, and this camera is active. Okay. So push the button again. Now the front camera is active. Let's just put it here for a moment, and I'm going to put my camera. I'm going to point my camera down this way so we can see the phone. Maybe zoom in a little bit. We are in focus, and now I'll be able to show you here. If I just switch to this camera, you can see the inside. And here I am going to examine everything. Oh, there is a loose brace right here. So this is, where was that? Did you see it? Now I lost it. Where was that? Was it this one? So we can confirm that with a feeler gauge. I don't think that's the one we were looking at. I thought I saw a loose brace. So this is the back of the guitar. I'm gonna have to look at the replay because I thought I saw a loose brace and now I can't see it. Maybe it was a shadow? I think so. False alarm? I hope so. I don't particularly like repairing loose braces. Okay, so now let's point the camera. Oh, that's the loose brace. Yeah. So there is a loose brace. Look at that. The X brace is loose. For sure. And let's switch the camera. And look at the bridge plate. So the bridge plate is okay, but we do have a loose brace right here, 2 of them. Okay. Yeah. Now I'm not seeing the right image. So once again, let me just switch the camera here and put the light here. Does this look like a gap? Or is it just glue squeeze out? No, that's just glue squeeze out. So I'm not sure if there is a loose brace or not. I really hope not. It's not fun. Fixing loose braces isn't something I like to do. Okay, so now I am going to, let me remove my wristwatch. So this is super important, right? We need to know if there are any loose braces. I'm just going to, let me put this camera away. I'm going to do this by feel. So if I can fit the feeler gauge between the brace and the soundboard, then I know I have a gap. So I think we were just seeing a shadow. I'm also examining the bridge plate. So this is super important, right? The braces need to be glued. We cannot have loose braces. It's kind of even more important than the saddle repair because the guitar plays kind of. I know I'm quiet, but I just need to focus on the work. I think we were just seeing shadows. I don't want to discover loose braces, trust me. It's also a small body guitar, so it's difficult to repair loose braces on a small body guitar. I've done it, and I don't want to do it again. So I think we were just seeing a shadow, and that glue residue also looked dark. Another way to do it is very carefully to try to wiggle the brace. So this is what I'm about to do now. Obviously very gently and carefully. It's like wiggling your tooth. You need to pinch it. And you know, honestly, I don't need the light. So I think I have good news. Let me examine the bottom. No, it's good. Yeah, so I think I have good news. So far, I'm not finding loose braces. That is good news. I don't want to find loose braces. I know that would be an interesting video, but I do have another guitar with loose braces that's been sitting here forever, and we are going to make a video, I promise. But it's not going to be this guitar. It's going to be another guitar. Yeah. So I think we're done for now. Oh, no, we're not. I need to map out the thing. Yeah, that piece of paper. Okay. I almost forgot. What time is it? What time is it? Oh, midnight. It's tomorrow already. Okay. Well, where'd I put the paper? Here. This is going to be quick. Basically, this is the, I'm oversizing it a little bit. Okay, and now let's just draw some lines. This doesn't need to be exact, and it won't be exact. Okay, and now all we need to do is I'm just going to cut through this. I saw your face, your faces. I am going to cut through it, but here instead of there. So I'm making a template, right, for the routing jig. My paper is smaller than 16 by 9 or 16 by 10, but it gives us an idea. So now we said 16 is this much, right? So it'll be kind of like that. We have a center line here, roughly. I just put it here. By 9 or by 10. Okay, so yeah. So this is what I'm going to remember, that here up to here is 4 inches. And I'm going to make this 10 inches and then 16 from here to here. I don't know how to mark it out, but 16 by 10. There you go. So I'm going to cut out a piece of MDF, and next time I see you, I'll have a piece of MDF template, and we are going to do that Bondo trick that I just explained. I'm going to put the strings back because it's the right thing to do. And I'm going to put the guitar back in the case with the humidifier. And it's going to stay in a humidity-controlled environment. Yeah, the pins go in the other direction. So, so far, I believe I made good progress on this guitar. I think so. So I already bought a router bit for this. I think it's this one right here, yeah? I'll show you. I'm happy that we can save the nut. I believe we can. Okay, there. And now we just tune the guitar and put it back in the case. Oh, what do you know? I tangled up the strings. Okay, so the pins, if we use slotted pins, they need to go the other way around, all right? Just like I just did. And now we tune the guitar with my thingy. Here it is. I am also going to make a new saddle from scratch. So that's going to be an interesting project altogether. So the D tuning machine needs to be fixed. I have the camera right here. I think at this point I'm going to recommend to change all of the tuning pegs, whatever they're called. Yeah, so this was never installed properly. You can buy these. StewMac sells them. I'm just going to put in my shopping cart tonight. So you need to remove the tuning machines, heat up this thing so that it melts the plastic. This was never inserted all the way. You can see if you look at them. So we need to be able to tune the guitar, obviously. Now the D tuner doesn't work. I can't tune it. It's actually very loud. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm playing flamenco. Oh. Okay, this is going to be a good guitar when we're done with it. So I am going to recommend the proper pins. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to look on StewMac website maybe, or online to see which pins would look good here. I think ebony, because we have an ebony nut. I think that would be the way to go. Definitely. Ebony pins, ebony nut, rosewood bridge, and rosewood fretboard. That would look good. Okay, my friends. I see a whole bunch of comments. Sorry. I can't get into the comments now because I'm logging the hours on this one as well. Thank you very much for watching. So this was part 1. There will be part 2, part 3. I don't know how many parts. And we'll get it all done. Thank you and good night.